What's up, everybody? This is the Booch, and welcome to episode 2 of the Boochcast reviews, Darkside of the 90s. We are back again, ladies and gentlemen. I am here with the one and only, the Broke Souls Ginger, Mr. Zack Scott.
What's up, dude? Yes, it's me, the Broke Souls Zack Scott. This is episode 2. Can I give the name of this the episode?
You want to do it?
Yeah, it's basically, we got here, the Viper Room. Hollywood Sanctuary, and I distinctly remember this. And I remember last week in the first episode, I didn't feel my stupidity go lower. I looked like, hey, look at those guys. Jesus Christ, they're fucking young.
Yeah, this was actually more of an educational one for me.
This really was.
Here's the thing, because obviously, and I'll say this right now. This is something you're gonna know about me a lot. I am a child of the 90s. That means during the 90s, I was a child, which means I was not really following pop culture back then. I was kind of just in the thick of it.
Yeah.
So, while I did see these actors on TV and in movies from time to time, I wasn't really aware of their partying or drugs or alcohol.
You didn't know what the hell that was.
Nor did I give a fuck. I'm like, look, as long as I'm liking what I see on the TV, I don't really give a shit. Yeah. So, some of the stuff I kind of knew, some of the stuff I didn't know.
I didn't know anything.
Like, for example, last week, I'd seen those kind of shows. Because, like I said, my grandmother was heavy into Jerry Springer. So, I've seen daytime talk shows. I knew nothing about the Viper Room.
No, neither
nothing.
did I.
None of this shit was knowledge to me at all. At all? Who's at all? I'm just saying, I did not know. So I liked this because it was very educational for me. And I'm hoping it'll be educational for all of you as well. So, those who do not know, the Viper Room was a safe space for celebrities to cut loose and unwind. And Johnny Depp was the type of person that could say, this person can get in, this person can't get in. You know, he kind of ran the place.
Before he became Jack Sparrow.
There were a lot of people who frequented this spot. For example, celebrities like Leonardo DiCaprio, Christina Aguilera, and tons of other celebrities frequented the spot. And we're going to name drop some of them throughout this show, because it wasn't until later on in the episode I saw what other celebrities went there. And it's also the place where River Phoenix died. And they opened the show with Joaquin Phoenix calling 911 and reporting seeing his brother lying on the floor. The Viper Room, sadly, is more known for that.
Yeah.
Now, to a lot of mainstream people, when people think of the Viper Room, they think of the spot where River Phoenix died.
Yeah.
That's what they think. They don't know the whole story about the Viper Room itself. And the Viper Room was located on Sunset Boulevard in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
There were a lot of different places you can go. There was the Whiskey A Go-Go and the Roxy, which were like the sophisticated clubs. Yeah. They were like the place where normal people would go. Then you had Gazzari's, which was a heavy metal club. That's where, like, you know, a lot of the rockers would go. Like
that was probably, if I was the way I am now, if I was that a lot at the age I am, I was like, where do you want to go? I'm like, I want to go there.
Well, back then it was like 80s version of metal. Guys like Guns N' Roses and shit like that. You know, going.
Axl Rose is a dick. They're still.
That's where they would go. And of course, music changed in the 90s.
Of course it did. When
Jane's Addiction came on the scene. And grunge music started to form. Now, obviously, we'll be talking more about grunge music in a later episode, so let's not dive too deep into that. Now, River and Johnny thought they would be more successful in music. They actually came out to be musicians. But they ended up going into acting because they found out they had a better talent for that. Now, the Viper Room had been around for a while, but it didn't become Hollywood Sanctuary until 1993 when Johnny Depp bought a dive bar called the Central. It was in the heart of the Sunset Strip. He changed the name from the Central to the Viper Room. So Johnny Depp, when he bought it, decided, I'm going to name this place the Viper Room. And Chucky Weiss played there regularly and was friends with Johnny Depp. And some people believe that there was a conspiracy theory going around that Johnny Depp only bought the Viper Room so Chucky Weiss could keep playing there. Because apparently he was on his way out the door. And Johnny turned it into a speakeasy place. And big rock stars would come there and perform. Like Johnny Cash had been to the Viper Room a few times. Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. Apparently Johnny Depp, they owed him a favor, so he would have him come and they would come play there as a way to come hang out, and it would be fun.
It looks like our actors can actually be themselves rather than not what they're on screen. They get to cut up. They get to do not supposed to get to drink. They don't have paparazzi click and all the fucking time.
Yeah, and more on that later. But yes, that was the place. They wanted to make it their place. Yeah, it became a place for celebrities to go out and have fun and let loose. And here's the thing: they felt protected at this place because Johnny Depp went out of his way to make sure the press were never allowed in. And he made sure obsessed fans weren't allowed in. Now, unless there was a rare occasion where someone might have squeaked by, but for the most part, celebrities were the only ones allowed in. They would let some regular people go in too, but it depends. Like Johnny Depp was very strict on who he let in.
Yeah, he was. If I looked at, he was.
Because he looked out for the other A-list celebrities. Because back then, people were obsessed with wanting to get their hands on celebrities. And they wanted a place to feel safe, because celebrities didn't feel safe.
They didn't. Because
you're constantly under the public eye. So it was like, hey, here's a place where you guys can you can drink, you can smoke, you can enjoy some entertainment, we have some fun. And Johnny Depp had money to burn. Because he was making good money. So he didn't necessarily have to profit off the place.
No, he didn't.
He didn't. So that's why it was a hangout spot. Now, every now and then, people would pay for a few things. Like, to kind of like, hey, they would be like, look, we're not asking for an insane amount of money, but, you might pay for a couple drinks just so I can, stash the place with good liquor. So that's kind of how it would go. And there were other people, for example, we would see Charlize Theron went to this place a lot. Matthew Perry was there quite a lot. Cameron Diaz.
Bowie McGuire.
Would hang out there, yeah. But non-celebrities would also try to get in just to hang out with the celebrities. But one of the guys who was really historic with this place is Adam Duras from Counting Crows.
Yeah.
He was walking into the Viper Room around the time Counting Crows became popular. They were like, their album had come out, they were hitting the music scene, so they eventually invited him in, and that's where he met Jennifer Aniston. And apparently, someone had told Adam that Jennifer had a crush on him. Someone had told Jennifer that Adam had a crush on him, that's how they met. And they dated briefly. It wasn't long enough where anybody really cared, but it was brief. But obviously still care about each other. And Johnny Depp created a safe haven for his A-list celebrity friends. And that's really what it was about, just them having fun and having a good time. Because back then, the paparazzi were hunting down celebrities.
Yeah, they were. They wouldn't leave them alone.
And at one point, they actually caused an accident that killed Princess Diana.
Yeah.
Because they were trying to get away from the paparazzi. Because back then, they just loved to stick cameras in people's faces. And here's the thing. It's not even, like today it's even worse because everybody's got a camera on their phone. But that's part of the reason celebrities today don't fucking like that shit. Is because A, no one wants to be filmed when they're out in public. Nobody does. But also, because they have a history of paparazzi shoving their face. And these weren't just like fans looking for an autograph. These were members of the fucking press who tried to use the whole First Amendment freedom of the press to do this shit.
There's always, every time an actor or actress gets pissed off, it's like, tells to get away, and you end up, Russell Crowe, like, this guy. If I was a rich educated eventually I'm gonna go, I might go to jail, but hopefully I have somebody there to, like take his fucking camera and break it. Or just take his camera and you have your big ass bodyguards, like, okay, delete. Like, here you go, leave me alone.
Sometimes they would have people who, shove cameras, punch people. Tom Arnold went to jail for that.
Yeah, if I saw a famous fucking person, like, Johnny Depp, and I just see him in a gas station here in Georgia, just that coincidence, I'd be like, crap, and you just would take out your phone, just person I might not believe you, to posting on Facebook. I saw Johnny Depp at a Forsyth County fucking gas station.
I'm not gonna lie, that's a hard thing to do, but I'm like, it'd be tempting.
It'd be very tempting, but you have too much respect for the guy.
I did. I'll tell you, I have a celebrity story like that. When I was 14, and I told this story in my comedy act and a few times on the Boochcast, my first job ever was Six Flags.
Mm-hmm.
That was my first job I ever had in my life. My first job. And I was in New Jersey, and I worked in the water park. One day when we were at the water park, Method Man showed up. And we all were like, holy shit. Because I had different buddies with different departments. We had one guy whose job was to be, he worked the parking lot attendant. He was the guy that you would pay money to. He'd give you a little ticket to park your car. And he saw Method Man pull up. And he got his wife and his kids with him. And the guy goes, Method Man? And he looks at him and he goes, what up, kid? Just saying hello. He goes, oh my God, it's awesome. Now, there were some people who were able to get autographs, but they did it when he, like, came up to their booth. Like, he would sign the receipt. He paid with a credit card or whatever. But someone would say, hey, while you're here, could I please get an autograph or a picture? And they would politely ask. And sometimes Method Man would be like, cool, no problem, and do it, whatever. And and to me, that's an appropriate time to do that.
Yeah.
Like, people would ask me, are you going to get Method Man's autograph? I'm like, if he comes to see me.
Yeah, I was like, how tempting you want to go up, talk to him. But I'm like, you know, like,
yeah,
you know what? I was like, nah. Especially somebody who's a big dude.
Yeah.
Or somebody scary.
Exactly. And like I said, I was working the Dippin' Dot stand that day. If Method Man came to the ice cream stand, I would have said something, but he didn't. But I found out there were fans chasing him all around the park. He couldn't get away from these fuckers. At one point, someone saw him running through the goddamn park with fans following him. Like, it was that bad. You know what I mean? It was like the Scooby-Doo gang chasing a monster. And at one point, I'm finally done for the day. I'm walking to the back of the water park to go get out of my uniform, get in my car, and go home. As I walk over, I see a bench.
Mm-hmm.
And I see Method Man laying on the bench asleep. He's tired from fucking running around all day. And his wife's sitting there. He's got his head and his head's in his wife's lap. Nothing perverted. He's just sleeping. She's kind of just like, you know, patting him on the head, everything, being a good wife and everything. And I stared there. She didn't look at me. She didn't know I was there. But I stared for like a couple minutes. I had that inner struggle in my head to whether or not to ask him for an autograph. I thought about it, and then I just said, no, they bothered him enough, and I just left. I couldn't bring myself to ask him for an autograph.
If you see them, I was like, what? I was like, oh, that would suck.
Yeah. That was so cool. But anyway, so the paparazzis, you know, being dicks, and it became a big business to get those pictures, though.
Yeah.
Hey, especially with a lot of, you know, bosses going, hey, I need a picture of this person coming out of this. And it wasn't even like they were on a set. It's like they're coming out of a restaurant. They're walking down the street. Hey, who's that girl he's walking with? Is it a relative? Is it a mistress?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, we're just friends getting ice cream. Oh, you're friends. And you're just like, motherfucker, my wife don't need to hear this shit. And then at one point they had the one with Tobey Maguire who cussed them out.
Like, he had the right to be pissed, right? Even though Otto drives,
yeah.
Get the fuck out of the way!
He goes, your lights are blinding me. I can't see the fucking car in front of me. Get the fuck away from me.
You know, if I had a store right there and I'd had a giant-ass hose, paparazzi assholes, okay? I'll take that giant-ass firefighter hose. I was like, okay, you fuckers don't want to leave these guys alone. I'm going to do this one thing that's completely non-lethal, but you're about to lose all your shit. Take him up and put not at their body. Take it up and break every one of those cameras. Leave these people alone.
Tom Arnold just broke the cameras. Like, I remember that story where
he went to jail for breaking a fucking camera.
Well, here's what happened. This was at the time when him and Roseanne were still married.
Oh.
And Roseanne had just sang the national anthem at a baseball game.
Mm-hmm.
And
I heard about this. I didn't hear it, but I heard about it.
It doesn't go well. It was a horrible performance.
May I ask?
Yeah?
Was it bad?
It was sad. She fucking and she's distraught on the plane. But Tom Arnold basically lies to Roseanne and lifts her spirits. He goes, they were booing you. He goes, honey, you don't go to baseball games much, do you? That's a term of endearment. He's like, really? I mean, yeah, really. They were enjoying what you did. He goes, and especially when you grabbed your crotch and spit, the players were laughing. And then Roseanne said, well, I did hear a couple people cheering. He goes, a lot of people were cheering, honey. And by the time they landed, he had her convinced she did a great job. And he said, because I'm a good husband. I'm backing my wife. And then they get to the airport. The President of the United States said her performance was a disgrace to the country. And when they get there, they're at the LAX airport. Everybody's shoving cameras in Roseanne's face, making her uncomfortable. And Tom said, I had to follow the 3 words that every wife says, and you got to follow if you're a husband. She said, get him, honey. So he chased the paparazzi all the way through LAX, down the escalators, broke their cameras, beat the fuck out of them, and got arrested. And then he said, I got the best witness in the world. My wife, who was assaulted by them with the cameras in her face. She'll testify and get me out. They go to trial. Roseanne's on the stand. He said, Roseanne, can you tell us in your own words exactly what happened? And Roseanne on the stand actually said, I didn't really see anything. Next thing you know, Tom Arnold's in an orange jumpsuit picking up McDonald's wrappers on the side of the 405. And he said, you know why? Because I'm a good fucking husband.
And yet they ended in divorce anyways.
Oh, damn. If I defend you and you let me hang for it, you don't think divorce is coming? It's like, fuck that bitch. Man, fuck that bitch. Fuck that bitch.
I always liked Tom Arnold. I always liked Tom.
Now, but here's the weird thing, though. Even though the paparazzi was insane during this time, they always stayed away from the Viper Room. Somehow they knew, don't go to the Viper Room. It's off limits. I guess they knew Johnny wasn't fucking around.
Yeah.
But the things people would do in the Viper Room would be inappropriate today. They said with social media and everyone having a camera on their phone, it wouldn't have been as safe of a place today.
Yeah,
like
it probably wasn't.
Like, they had theme nights, date nights,
Alice in Wonderland, I was like, you have to be tripping on some hardcore LSD to do something like that. It's like, you want to dress up like Alice in Wonderland characters? You go to a kick-ass club with a bunch of celebrities like Ron White was said. Fuck yeah! We can't go to the Viper Room.
I don't have a costume. But yeah, the Arquette family did skits. There was an old school burlesque. And of course, Timothy Leary was the one reading Alice in Wonderland on stage.
Who's Timothy?
He was on stage reading a book surrounded by giant toadstools. I think he was a musician.
I never heard of him before.
I haven't either.
Okay, so you're not the only one.
Yeah. Sorry,
I was like, we hear these names and don't know her. We know her. You know him. Like I said before, I was like, holy shit! Look how young they are.
Mm-hmm. And the best part is they allowed people to explore their creativity.
Yeah.
They let them have fun up there. And Christina Applegate, for example, teamed up with Robin Anton, who was being interviewed on the show.
Yeah.
And they were part of a group called the Pussycat Dolls.
And they're a Grammy-nominated band.
And they would perform at the Viper Room. And they did a burlesque show, and what their thing was, and this I found interesting, and I love it. It was a strip tease that was an actual tease.
So nudity.
Because no matter how much clothing they took off, they never were butt naked on stage. Every time they took something off, it was always like a shorts, and then a shorter pair of shorts, and then a shorter pair of shorts, and then a shorter pair of shorts. So, just enough to cover everything, but they were never butt-ass naked on stage.
No, they were not.
And then, of course, other people would go in there. Dr. Dre was in there a lot. Hugh Hefner would come out there. The other casts of Friends were in there as well. Robert Shimmer and Matt LeBlanc and Lisa Kudrow.
Lisa Kudrow and Courtney Cox.
Courtney Cox, she was there too. And also... Carmen Electra was there, and she at one point joined the Pussycat Dolls. Now, the Pussycat Dolls eventually played other venues and later became the pop group we know today. Now, obviously, when they became a pop group, I don't think Christina Applegate or Carmen Electra obviously weren't in the Pussycat Dolls.
No, I think they're just here.
Yeah, they were there for the burlesque part, but that not for the pop band thing.
I can't see them.
Different group members interchanged over time.
Totally different time of genres in music.
Yeah. And then disaster strikes.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden, heroin becomes the drug of the decade.
Yep.
Heroin makes a comeback. And it became the drug of choice for rock musicians. From Kurt Cobain to Courtney Love to Kelly Deal of the Breeders to Steve Adler of Guns N' Roses.
Mm-hmm.
Were all heavy heroin addicts during this time.
They're not the only ones.
They said it was easier to get than pot, which in the 90s, I believe.
Yeah.
And Hollywood basically becomes a zombie town because almost everybody is on heroin. Hooked on heroin.
I think you ever heard Johnny Depp being hooked.
Not to my knowledge, no.
No.
Honestly, before the 90s, the only really celebrity I ever knew that was actually hooked on heroin was Ray Charles. I know he did heroin. I didn't know too many other people that did it. But it's very dangerous, yeah. Oh, wait, there was one other person I know who did heroin. Artie Lang. He did heroin. And then, of course, emergency rooms were flooded with victims of bad heroin. Okay, I want to rewind that for a second there. I have a question about bad heroin.
What?
Is there any other kind?
Yeah, you could bad heroin. You can mix it in with the wrong shit. Cut it. It could be flour, baby formula.
Okay.
Or worse, some dipshit person's on heroin. They mix it up. You know what they can mix it with?
What?
Rat poison or something worse.
Okay, because that's why I'm like heroin's bad, period. So that's why I laughed. It reminds me of that when I watched the Woodstock documentary from like the original one, not the one that's on Netflix, different one. And they said there was like, hey, we want to make a quick announcement here. We've heard some people saying we're worried they were taking some poison. It's not poison. It's just bad acid. What? It's acid. All of it is bad. It's like heroin. All heroin is bad, period. There should be no such thing as bad heroin.
Heroin is way worse than acid, trust me.
I'm sure it is. I'm just saying. It's like, oh, you got a bad batch of heroin. This whole thing is fucking bad. It can kill me, jackass. Now, there was also a key thing. If the door to any Hollywood dressing room was ever locked, they were doing heroin. Because people still did coke out in the open. Like, you could walk, like, walking in and seeing somebody do a line of cocaine was normal in Hollywood. It was like, oh, they didn't care if you saw that, but they never let you see the heroin. That was more sacred, I guess. And it became a perfect escape from the pressures of fame or to cope with demons.
No, and all the drugs, I never did heroin. No, I did it one time. I did not like it. I was like, no, what? Fuck this. I just scared the shit out of me. I was like, no.
Yeah, I've never done heroin.
No.
And the thing, it's the one drug I know for a fact I would never do.
I know why.
Because I don't like needles. Simple as that. That's the reason.
Well,
the fact that you have to shoot it up, nope. Anything involving needles, I ain't doing. Nope. Not happening. Not on this planet. Not on any other.
Yeah, same here.
I don't even like getting vaccine shots, let alone fucking shooting myself up with drugs. Nope. Never have to worry about that.
That's a one drug that doesn't scare me because but heroin scared the shit out of me. I was like, nah, I'm good on that. I was like, I done my fair share. Okay, you know I haven't.
Yeah.
Some of the other stuff, I'm like, all those pills. Never took pills.
Yeah.
I never got hooked on painkillers.
Exactly.
I took them for my reason, and I had to, but otherwise not.
Yeah. Now, apparently, the Viper Room allowed Courtney Love to have a place to mourn and talk out how she was feeling. So that was why people felt comfortable with the Viper Room. She went down there and talked with some friends, and she was crying, and she got a chance to just vent because she just lost her boyfriend, her husband, love of her life. You know? It was a sad moment for Courtney.
That's another topic for another day.
Okay.
I won't give I have my personal feelings for Courtney Love. But
now, and then you find out that Kurt and Adam, of course, the lead singer of Counting Crows, both were dealing with mental health. And Adam's debut album, Counting Crows' debut album, surpassed Nirvana's Nevermind as far as sales. Mm-hmm. It was like a 7-time platinum album. And Adam eventually became a bartender at the Viper Room.
Dude, I just did it because I wanted to.
And he made good money in tips.
He said, like, I made really good money. I was like, why did you do it? Because like, I was having fun.
Well, he said it was a place for him to unwind, and it felt good knowing he wasn't the most famous person in the room.
Of course, he's a rock star compared to all those movie celebrities. What's more famous, a rock star or a movie stars? Movie stars.
Sorry, movie stars.
Movie stars.
Actors. Movie stars, actors, Trump, musicians. They just do. Fact.
It's a fact, but it goes celebrities. No, it goes politicians, celebrities, rock stars, musicians.
Yeah. So yeah, but they're saying so he knew he wasn't the most famous person in the room, and it gave him a chance to get away and unwind because, like I said, he knew he was having mental health and he couldn't deal with the outside world.
I couldn't tell that was him because he cut his hair. I was like, wait a minute. I was like, holy shit! At least you're Counting Crows. I didn't recognize without his hair. I was like, wait a minute. I was like, who the hell is that? And I was like, oh, him. And I always liked the Counting Crows.
Yes.
The dude's got a good voice.
Absolutely. And so now...
One person didn't die off of heroin.
Yeah. Now, of course, when it came to movie stars, River Phoenix was the grungy version of a movie star.
Yeah, he was.
He hung out with Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. That was his good friend. And he loved music, and acting was his day job. Like, he was an actor, he made good money at it, he was good at it, but his passion was music.
Yeah. That's what he said several times. I see him in the only movie I actually watched him with, it was the one with Robert Redford in it.
Yeah.
Where they were trying to steal I don't know, it's an old movie, it has Robert Redford, Sidney Porter in it. That's about a couple other famous, I can't know the names, but you've seen him before, but you've seen him in the 80s movies, but I always liked River Phoenix, and like I said, at this time frame, I didn't understand what this stuff was.
Not a lot of us did.
I knew the actors. It was like I seen them in movies. I knew their names, but I didn't know what heroin was. The only thing I ever knew was you drink too much alcohol, you get sick, and I knew what cigarettes were because my dad smoked in the house.
Yeah, exactly. And now, of course, another thing that becomes big in the 90s during this time is a little thing I like to call dress codes. There's trouble in the schools. Trouble with a capital T, and that rhymes with DC, and that stands for dress code.
Well, I remember one time one kid got sent home because he was wearing an ICP.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
I had a friend one time who was wearing a Rock t-shirt from the like Wrestling the Rock, and it said, "Lay it the smacketh down," and on the back it said, "On your candy ass." He had to get like masking tape and tape over the word ass, and was told to never wear that shirt to school again. He would be suspended. They had to do something to cover it up because he's already at school, and they weren't going to send him home.
You know what? If I was a teacher there or a custodian, it's like, look, dude, it's like you can get 2 versions of that shirt. Keep the one with the ass word on it, and they probably would what he should have saying. So they get the one that bleeps it out.
I don't know if they sold the shirt that bleeps it out.
I think they did. I was like, well, I was what I'll tell if they did. I was like, I'm like, why don't you just buy 2 of them? One for school, and one you can walk around here. Would you guys like? No. Like, how old are you? 14, 15 years old? Okay.
Well, yeah.
I was like,
well, I know in school they were obsessed with dress codes, like trying to make people like if you had to wear a shirt, it had to cover up certain parts and everything else. But like they would get like if a girl was showing her belly button.
Yeah, I remember that. I was like,
they would get pissed off. And
in middle school, really.
Now look, here's the thing. Obviously, if you're a woman, you need to wear a shirt that covers. Here's what I look at. As long as the tits, the ass, and the pussy are covered, I don't care about nothing else. If you think for 1 second guys are getting turned on by belly buttons, you need fucking therapy.
No, we're not. It's just nice to look at.
And I think in some cases, I honestly think the reason teachers were obsessed with dress codes is because they're trying to hide their sexual urges. It's like, oh, it's inappropriate for you to dress like that. Really? Y'all the ones fucking the students. Zach, how often do we see on the news a teacher fucking his or her, mostly her, students?
Several too many times.
And that's in the modern day.
Yeah.
You know how many we saw back in the 90s? One.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that.
But I don't want to talk about that now in case that becomes a 90s on its own. But we had one. Y'all are averaging 3 a goddamn year.
And the girls actually wore clothes that girls were supposed to wear. I see these girls today. I'm like, where are your fathers? I was like, God, I'm my age and in your age, shoot. Thank God I am not a father of a girl.
Yeah.
Ugh.
But I'm saying, I thought dress codes were stupid. If you're more obsessed with what a kid's wearing than anything else, here's the idea. Fucking educate the kid. Besides, going to school nowadays can be a waste of time because A, y'all don't teach anything, and B, you spend half your time manipulating kids with your own and forcing your own beliefs down their throats. Instead of teaching them what you're supposed to teach them, you instead want to brainwash them into your libtard way of thinking. So, dress code's the least y'all's fucking problems.
Yeah, dress codes. It's like, but kids, don't go out there, like, I'm going to wear this, see what they say. It's like, well, if you know for a fact they're going to fucking say something, don't wear it. Don't get...
Unless you have no fucks to give.
Yeah, unless you don't give no fucks to go ahead, but I wouldn't want the publicity or the trouble.
But it became a big thing in the 90s. Basically what they did was they banned clothes depicting sex, profanity, gangs, drugs, or violence, illegal acts, or provocative dress.
I never wore anything. The only thing I wore was band t-shirts.
Yes, and the law passed 5-1. Well, depending on the band, it could be depicting drugs.
I never wore any band that depict drugs. My old middle school, the last public school I went to, people were walking around with Korn and Marilyn Manson shirts, and they didn't really say anything.
Well,
this was actually right after Columbine too, which I'm shocked about.
Yeah, well, sometimes you're able to get away with it, but the law passed 5-1 in most school districts, and people who were young in the 90s felt culturally disaffected and tried to tear down the archetypes that exist today. Like, this is what a blockbuster movie looks like, or this is what a rock band looks like. It was up for grabs, and they were trying to figure it out.
I hated it.
And to an extent, I can see that.
Yeah, I can see that too.
90s kids are definitely felt distant from their actual parents. Like, we definitely were, fighting with the baby boomers for a lot. In a lot of ways, we still are. Like, I always say, what's the number one thing we fight with the baby boomers over? Mm-hmm. Jobs.
My mom's always had a job.
I'm just saying. Like, I'm talking about in general, because a lot of times, a lot of the reasons why it's hard to find jobs today, is because sometimes some companies don't want to hire people, right, that they need to train or teach. They'll sometimes give the job to a baby boomer because they're older, they got experience, they can do the job right out of the gate. So it's like, we'll give him this job.
Experience always helps when it comes to a job.
Well, here's the thing. In order to get a job, you must have experience. In order to get experience, you must have a job.
Yep.
You know what that means?
Get a job.
You fucked. Basically.
Like, if I didn't want to work at Jim and Nixon, or God forbid, I was like I can go and it's like, guys, you need a dishwasher? Yeah, I have 20 years experience, and the people are like, okay, you're hired. I get job offers all the time. I was like, I'm a dishwasher. You want a job? No.
Yeah.
I'm not leaving.
You're not ready. You ain't leaving your job anytime soon.
No.
But yeah, so that was the thing. It was the 90s. But the problem is, I wasn't really part of the protesting in the 90s. Again, I was a kid.
Yeah, we didn't understand.
So I wasn't really... I mean, I did feel disaffected, but not to the extent that 90s kids did. It wasn't until I got older. It wasn't until the 2000s that I really started, like, rebelling against dress codes and shit like that. So it was definitely the 90s, definitely a time for a rebellious stage. And also, Flea dedicated the first verse of the song, Give It Away, Give It Away, Give It Away, yeah, to River Phoenix. So that part where you hear, there's a river that's always a giver, keep you warm, won't ever let you shiver. That's a dedication to River Phoenix. I never knew that.
Yeah, me neither. I was like, we heard about that. I was like, wait a minute. I was like, and you and I were just looking at it, like, holy shit, he's right. How many times you and I have listened to Give It Away?
A lot.
And it's overplayed, but every once in a while, just...
Oh, and I hear a lot of Red Hot Chili Peppers at work because my boss is heavy.
I play
my boss is diehard Red Hot Chili Peppers.
I like the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and I put them all the time at work.
Yeah, I played them once for a full year at work. I had and I even heard some Red Hot Chili Pepper songs that I didn't even know existed.
After this, we got to go on the air and good. Talk about the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Want to jam out some Red Hot Chili Peppers on the way to the gas station?
Yeah, sure. Let's do that.
Okay.
All right. Well, anyway, so now River used heroin to cope with the pressures of success because he was dealing with a lot of celebrity stuff, and he was also very big on animal treatment. He was a big part of PETA.
He was probably a vegetarian or a vegan, which in right through the way, okay. It wouldn't surprise me. He says, I'm a vegetarian. I'm like, nah, that would not surprise me.
Yeah.
You know who I'm not surprised is not a vegetarian?
Who?
Desmond. Just saying, dude, if you ever hear this, I'm just busting your balls. Don't get all opinionated.
Desmond likes meat too much. Johnny Depp also had a band called P that included Gibby Haynes from the Butthole Surfers. Now,
that's an odd name.
Yeah, I have to kind of pause there for a second because I think I've heard songs from the Butthole Surfers before. I can't remember one off the top of my head, but
I got a couple songs on my phone.
Who the fuck
came up with this name?
Who thought that was a good idea for a name?
I don't know, bro.
What? How high did you have to be to go, we need a name for our band?
It was the 90s. You had the cheesiest fucking band names of all time.
None were worse than that.
Hey, one of my favorite bands is named after a vegetable.
Who's that?
Korn. Think.
Oh, yeah. Okay, Korn's not that bad. There's Korn. There's Slipknot. There was Blink 182,
Green Day,
Sum 41, Green Day. All sound better than Butthole Surfers.
They have a couple good tunes. So I was like, dude, your band's name's kind of whack.
Yeah.
And a lot of these, God, grunge one I got.
It's like, what band could possibly be worse? Hi, we're the Vaginal Boogie Boarders.
I mean,
hey, come out and see us perform. We are Cock Sledders. We go sledding on our cocks. The only wood I got is between my legs.
World He even came out in the 90s.
Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers was also performing there that night.
Mm-hmm.
And River, after a while, eventually got talked into going. So he decided to spend the night with some friends. And unfortunately, that was the day he dropped dead outside of the Viper Room. And this is also when America first met Joaquin Phoenix. Because before this, Joaquin wasn't very known. I don't know if he was even acting yet. He's doing the 911 call, and it's literally the most emotional phone call on the planet. Joaquin is freaking the fuck out. He's like, where are you at? I'm like, get a fucking paramedic. So he goes, sir, calm down. We need to get you. We need to figure out where you're at. On the corner of Sunset and Bellissima, or whatever the hell. And
he said the Viper Room. He goes the Viper Room, and I think that guy's like, okay, I think I know where that's at.
They're trying to get an exact address. He's saying it's on the corner of Sunset and this, but they wanted the exact freaking address. Which back then, unless you knew it off the top of your head, you were fucked.
Yeah, you were screwed.
Today you can Google it.
Pretty much.
It's easier to get addresses today. In fact, I'm like that too. Like, people tell me, oh, just go to this station, make a right address. Give me the fucking address so I can put it in my GPS and I can come get you.
There you go.
So, anyway, now the paramedics eventually show up and they're doing the oxygen thing. They got defibrillators because they're trying to revive him. Now, he died on the sidewalk, but eventually they got him in the ambulance and they took him to the hospital. And they spent an hour and a half trying to save him. But it wasn't until the hospital they finally confirmed he was dead. But he had actually died on the sidewalk, but they tried to save him at the hospital. And apparently he had morphine at high levels in his body. Now, apparently he had a mixture of coke and heroin, which apparently becomes morphine.
Yep.
When mixed into your body. And it was at very high levels. And then they had different stories on what they thought might have killed him. They thought he took a drink. Some people said he was getting high. There's multiple stories about what happened. All we know is that's what was found in his system when he died. Now, every generation thinks they're the better generation than the one before it. Everyone does. Yep. Like, the people from the 80s think they're better than the 70s. People in the 90s who think we're better than the 80s. Mm-hmm. The 2000s think they're better than us. Mm-hmm. Everybody today thinks they're better than us. Mm-hmm. But what ultimately draws the line in the sand is pre-internet and post-internet. Sure. And the 90s was the last decade where it was really uncool to like being famous. Like, you weren't supposed to love being famous. It was viewed as arrogant. It was viewed as stupid. Because back in the day, being famous was the unfortunate byproduct of being really good at something. You have skills, you make a lot of money, you're successful, but you also got to deal with the fame. Like Eminem, one of his songs, he said, nope, it's like, nobody understands just why you came back again. You hate the fame, love the game, cold as ice, you remain. Fuck 'em all, tell 'em all, eat shit. Here we go again. But that was Eminem. He hated being famous, but he loved hip-hop. But Eminem genuinely fucking hated being famous. Hated it with a passion. He just loved the fact that he was making money and could take care of Haley. That was the extent of it. And he loved performing. He loved rap. But the fame was like the thing you had to deal with because nobody wanted to be famous because you had to deal with paparazzi and everybody invading your private life and you trying to argue like, what I do is none of your business. Well, you're a public figure and I have a right to know what's going on. Like, that's the whole dynamic. That's the difference between pre-internet and post-internet. Yep. Because it used to be the byproduct. But now, in 2022, famous is the end goal. Mm-hmm. That's ultimately what people want to be. They just want to be famous. And let me tell you something. I can tell you from personal experience. You can be famous all you want. That and $5 won't even get you a cup of coffee. And if you saw my documentary, you learned I finally phrased that correctly instead of being the stuttering mess I was at the time I said it. Because I know I sounded stupid when I did. I can't even watch that part. I sound so stupid. But that was the point. Being famous don't mean dick. It really doesn't. And it goes away after a while. Ultimately, what you want to be is successful in making money. Desmond even said he does not want to be a famous musician. He just wants to make a living. He said if I can make money and pay my bills and just play music, I'd be happy. He doesn't need to be on a fame level or an A-lister. And I've even said that about comedy. If I can make enough money doing what I love to do and pay my bills and not have to work a regular 9-to-5 job or go back to retail, I would be happy. That's why at this stage of my life I am happy because I got two major sources of income that pay my bills. So I'm happy right now. Now, that's not saying that I don't want to do more. Obviously, I have more things I want to do and I got other content I want to put out and I have other goals I want to achieve. But I'm actually at a point in my life where I'm happy and I'm enjoying the journey. From 2007 to 2020, I didn't have that. I wasn't enjoying the journey that much. But, and also, no 90s celebrity ever called themselves a brand.
No, they didn't.
Like today, everybody's a brand. And 90s people are disgusted by it. And now eventually, Johnny Depp sold the Viper Room in 2004. And that's when it came to an end as being the cool, safe space for celebrities. Because once Johnny was no longer running it, people stopped coming. And also they listed other celebrities that were there as well. Like Shannon Doherty was there. Tiffany Amber Thiessen would go there. And Mario Lopez would go there. Mm-hmm. So that's... Because he showed pictures of different celebrities throughout the years. And these were the people that would frequent the club, go there a lot. And I'm sure there's plenty of others that we haven't mentioned that went there. But ultimately it was 2000. So from 1993 to 2004 that was the hot spot for celebrities. And then Johnny Depp sold the Viper Room. And it's still there, but now it's just a place. And like we said, most people only remember it as the place where River Phoenix died.
It was famous.
Yeah.
And infamous.
Exactly. And that's the crazy part, because now celebrities don't have a place where they can cut loose anymore.
Yeah.
And today, you wouldn't know who to trust.
Nope.
And that's pretty sad.
Much.
You know, that these guys don't have a place they can go. Because that was their place to be. Where they can just have fun, cut loose, be themselves, get away from the public eye for a bit, and just have fun. And sometimes that's what people need. Like, that's their idea of having a vacation. Just like, look, just leave me alone. The problem is, most people today, like, that's the difference. Back in the day, in the 90s, when someone but paparazzi's taking a camera in your face, you wanted that camera as far away from you as possible.
Yep.
Today, they see the paparazzi coming, they're like, ooh. Zach, got something in my teeth?
No.
Does my hair look okay?
You don't have any.
Fuck you. Like, do I look okay?
You look normal.
Hi, paparazzi. Nice to see you. I'm
like,
glad you didn't forget about me today. That's the average person.
I'll be like, fuck off.
Exactly. They're starving for the fame because they want the fame more than anything. And I've learned, there are some entertainers that aren't famous, but they have money. Mm-hmm. I was the opposite. I had the fame, but no money for the longest time. Now I got the money and a little bit of fame, and I like the money. I'll tell you this right now. I love the money more than the fame.
Oh, hell yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I only like the fame because it leads to more money. That's the thing. That was the advantage to being famous, was that it allowed you to make more money. It's like in wrestling. You want to go to the WWE because it's the biggest show there is. Mm-hmm. And if you use WWE correctly, mm-hmm. and you make yourself a big enough star there, when you leave,
yeah.
you can go to another place and be a bigger draw and make more money. Because you bring more value.
More value.
And that's key. The value is the key.
Value is the key.
That's what celebrity was meant to be used for. It was not supposed to be your end goal. It was supposed to be the thing that you had to tolerate to get to the end goal, which was make enough money to where you don't have to work a job that you hate. And that's ultimately what my goal's been. Mm-hmm. To not have to be where the alarm clock goes off and I'm not miserable. And guess what? Mm-hmm. The life I live now, my alarm rarely goes off. Because I rarely have to set it.
That's true. And
that is true happiness.
Happiness.
Alright, and that, ladies and gentlemen, will wrap up this episode of Boochcast Reviews Darkside of the 90s. Zach, do you have any final words, or you want to wrap it up?
Stay away from heroin. That's bad business.
Absolutely.
And leave the celebrities alone, you assholes.
Exactly.
Okay, I dare somebody to go up to Chris Hemsworth, just pointing out there, you mess with him, point a camera face. Highly doubt it, but you piss him off, he might hurt you.
Yeah.
Or do it to Brock Lesnar. I dare ya.
Like, look, if you really want a picture with somebody, ask. Be polite. If they say no, accept the no. Simple as that. Be polite. If you're polite, most of the time, they'll say yes. But if you're rude or you're pushy, you ain't getting shit. Nope. And you don't deserve shit.
Nope.
So, on that note, we are now officially going to wrap up this episode of Boochcast Reviews Darkside of the 90s. Tune in next week. We got a hell of a great show for you guys. We got TV for Teens. Basically, the rise of the Fox Network and all the great shows that came from that. TV for Teens is going to be next week. We're going to get into all the teenage shows and all the fun things that took place from that in the 90s. So make sure you guys follow us on all of our social media platforms. The links are down in the description box below. Follow us on all of our social media platforms. Description box, all the links are going to be down there. And of course, hit the subscribe button and ring that bell to be notified so you never miss another episode of Boochcast Reviews Darkside of the 90s, as well as other additional Boochcast YouTube content. See you guys next week. Until then,
Pizza, baby!